In this episode of Elite Baseball Numbers, you'll hear from Air Force Academy's coach Drew LaComb. He tells me everything they're looking for when recruiting a high school baseball player and what you should focus on if you want to play at an elite level in college. Coach Drew LaComb from Air Force Academy uh, got you on here for looking at the elite numbers and seeing what you guys recruit for when you recruit a high school baseball player. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on, and I'm excited to talk a little bit of recruiting, a little bit of baseball with you today.
Awesome. Let's just get right into it. We can rapid fire the numbers questions, and then at the end we can talk about some of the mental stuff that you look for, because I know that's at least as important as the physical side.
100%. The game of baseball is extremely mental, not also just the physical side of it, but the mental side of it. Everyone talks about how much failure you deal with this game, and you really want to be around good people, good players, good teammates, and so we definitely look at the mental side of it when it comes to recruiting.
Awesome. All right, let's get right into it then. The first number that I would like to know from you is if you look at exit velo off a tee or in game, or what you look at for exit velo.
So usually when it comes to exit velo, we're getting it more from a batting practice session from recruits, whether it's off a tee or front toss or a machine. Very rarely do we get in-game exit velocity data. But with that being said, it's just one piece to the puzzle in regards to the recruiting process. It gives us just an idea and a picture of maybe who has some bat speed, who has hard contact quality, those who have some strength at contact, who has the ability to hit the ball far or with power. So it's just one piece of the puzzle. I think the biggest thing that precedes the exit velocity side of it is um, just how often are they making contact? How often are they squared up the ball? Just because someone has bad speed or exit velocity doesn't mean necessarily that they're a great hitter. And so it's just one piece of the puzzle that we look at. It just gives us power potential, essentially, what they're capable of from that side of it. And in regards to metrics, what we look at is anyone who has the ability to hit over 100, I think, especially in high school, has some power, some true power potential. And if somebody maybe is on the lower end, it doesn't necessarily mean that we won't recruit them. It just means that they need to be strong in other areas of their game from the offensive side. They maybe need to handle the bat a little bit more, be able to handle the strike zone maybe a little bit more, maybe a high on base percentage person, somebody who can run a little bit more. So again, it just tells one piece to the story.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I see that all the time. Last year I hit a new PR on my exit velo. It was like 101 or something off the tee, and I had one of the worst seasons. It was in men's league, and I had I had a worse season than I expected to, just because my hands just didn't feel right all year. So I
Yeah.
see how that's definitely a one piece of the puzzle. You said 100. That's like a good power potential, and then you said something about the lower side. What would be the lower side that you would still accept if they're good bat to ball?
To explain that a little bit more, I'm more looking like over 100 miles an hour if they're hitting off a machine or an arm. If you're going off a tee, probably 95 plus is a good number to look at just because there's no velocity coming in from a pitched ball that would create a little bit more of an exit velocity. So, but those are just some of the numbers we look at. So I would say below 95 miles an hour on a tee, below probably 100 off of maybe a machine or an arm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Um, get into the second number here. Do you look at pull downs from their specific position, or throws across the infield or from the outfield?
Yeah, I think pull downs go hand in hand. Same conversation as exit velocity. It's just one piece of the puzzle. It is a good pater basically metric for arm strength and who can move efficiently and has a fast arm. And but again, as a position player, it's more important that you throw the ball accurately and that you play catch. It doesn't matter how hard you throw across the infield if you don't throw it accurately to the first baseman and if you don't throw it in time before the runner gets there. But arm strength does play because it just gives you a more opportunity, more room for error. So infielders with higher pull downs or higher arm strength have higher likelihood of playing the left side of the infield when they get to the higher level with college or professional baseball. When it gets to the outfield side, they're more than likely have a chance to play right field where it's a farther throw to third base than left field, essentially. So it is helpful to have more arm strength with the pull down side of it. And that equates to the mound side of it as well. But I bet if you asked every pitching coach in the country, it doesn't matter how hard you throw if you can't throw strikes. And
Yeah.
so it's just, again, it's helpful just to be able to see who can move efficiently, who can throw hard, who has arm strength, and that's all very important. The biggest thing is, can you then translate it to the game? Does that show
Mhm.
up within the game setting?
Okay. Awesome. And then with that, with the pull downs, do you do, you said that if they're throwing harder, they're going to be more likely on the left side of the infield or right field. Do you look at specific numbers as position specific numbers then?
I don't look necessarily deep into the pull down velocity or specific, but you can tell just with an arm action and their arm path who has a clean arm path and who has carry when the ball comes out, who can play in what positions and whatnot. But usually, I think the magic number in pull down in today's age is 100, is what everyone's shooting for. Now, it depends on the age. We're talking high level college recruited athletes or professional athletes or college players. Now, if you're a freshman or sophomore in high school, that might be a completely different number. Maybe your pull down goal is 90 miles an hour. So it just depends on your age and what you're shooting for. But again, at the end of the day, it's just a metric of arm strength, arm speed, how your body moves, and efficiency. But it's got to translate over into a game.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, obviously, if saying it translates into a game, or assuming it translates into a game, if you're looking at an older high school guy, you're looking for upper 90s, 100 area.
Yes.
Okay. But obviously, with the huge contingency that it has to translate and has to have good arm action and carry and everything.
Yep.
Okay, great. Third number I'm looking for is what would be a min or maximum, I guess, 60 time. The worst 60 time that you'd take and then average that you'd want to look for.
Again, I think it's not a one size fits all type question. It's really position specific, and then
Mhm.
what other tools do they bring to the game? So when we go recruit position players, because the 60 time really isn't very relevant for the pitching side of it. But from the position player side, there's a speed and strength, basically balance between the two that we look for. If the slower you are, the stronger you need to be to play at a high level. The weaker you are, the faster you need to be to play at a high level. And preferably, we'd like players to have both. So, but in regards to certain positions, if you're going to play the middle of the field, short, second, center field, you have to cover the most range. So those are the ones that have to have higher 60 times and preferably looking in the middle infield, a 6'8" or better, probably. In center field, probably a 6'7" or better, preferably a 6'6". It also depends on what each college program's philosophy is. Are they wanting more offensive, bigger physical players in their lineup, or are they wanting more faster, dynamic athletes in their lineup? And so some programs want a center fielder who can really run it down, and depends on what their home field looks like. Do they have a big home field where they need someone who can cover a lot of ground? Or do they play in a small ballpark where they want guys who can really hit and bang it? And so, like, a good example, you look in the big leagues, you got Aaron Judge playing center field. I don't think he's the fastest guy by any means or 60 time, but Yankee Stadium's known for being small. And so, having maybe a power hitting guy in center is not the worst thing. But then from maybe a corner infield standpoint, for the college side, maybe a 7 flat, 7-1, maybe from a max standpoint, 7-2 for a catcher. But those guys got to hit. If you're looking at a 7-0 and slower, those guys are usually your bigger, more physical guys who can really hit. But the athletic dynamic type players, usually are a sub seven, usually more of a sub 6'8".
Okay. That's a perfect answer. That's exactly what I was looking for with that. Thank you.
Of course.
And then I'm guessing it's going to be everything the same except for probably the numbers on the home to first time.
100%. So right-handed hitters are going to be about a tenth to 2/10 of a second slower than a left-handed hitter. And so it depends on if they're right or left-handed, what their home to first times are. And, that translates just like what we were talking about from the 60 time. We want our shortstop and center fielder probably to be running a little bit quicker. Say they're a right-handed hitter, preferably below a 4.3, a 4.4 home to first in game. If they're a left-handed hitter, if they could be below like a 4.2 or below, that would be great. Home to first. Those bigger guys who can really hit, if they could be no more than a 4.5, 4.6 home to first, that would be great as well. But again, it just comes down to the strength and speed balance between it. The slower you are running home to first, you better be a big bopper guy who can really hit the ball far. The weaker you are who don't and you don't hit the ball as far, you need to be a guy who's quicker home to first. But for our faster guys, below a 4.4 second, home to first is ideal for right-handed hitters, and sub 4.2 is ideal for left-handed hitters.
Okay, awesome. And then I've got four more numbers, um, and then a little bit about the mental side, and we can move on. Um,
Sound
the next one is batting average. Do you look at high school batting average, and what would kind of be the minimum that you'd look at there? If you're getting any value from this episode, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It'll help you stay up to date on the newest episodes with coaches across the country. God bless you. Stay steadfast. Now back to the show.
Yeah, so great question. We do and we don't, but the bigger picture is what is their batting average and who's the competition they're playing against. So, if they're in one of the best high school conferences in the country, maybe hitting 300 to 350 is equivalent to somebody hitting maybe 400 to 450 in a not as good high school conference. And so it again just is one picture or one piece of the puzzle. And we really more so look at who their competition is and what's the level of pitching that they're facing on a daily basis. And so that's a big thing. The batting average, though, too, a lot of our high school seasons in today's world, the spring seasons are very short, depending
Mhm.
on where they're playing. Some of the colder weather states, they're maybe only playing 20, 25 games. The warmer weather states are probably playing maybe 35, 40. And so batting average can be tricky at times because a lot of hitters can be playing at their best over a 15 game stretch. And there's a lot of hitters that don't play well over a 15 game stretch. If you look at the big leagues, there's a lot of hitters that, go through slumps in a 15 to 20 game stretch. And so that could really make or break somebody's season because that's half your high school season. And so
Yeah.
it doesn't say the total picture at the end of the day what your batting average is. And I'm not saying it's not important, but I wouldn't say it's the most important thing that we look at.
Okay. Yeah, I think Bryce Harper had a stretch last season where he had one hit in 15 games or something crazy. So
Yeah,
even
so
some of the best can do that. Yeah.
correct. Yep.
Okay. And then similar with that, I guess, is do you look at power numbers from high schoolers and are you looking for a specific amount of home runs or, OPS?
Yeah, so great question. The three statistics that we would look at more so from a high school athlete and how they're performing is just extra base hits and then their walk to strikeout ratio. And that just tells us a lot. Like if you have a lot of extra base hits, that means that when you are swinging, you are doing damage and you are squaring the ball up and you are hitting the ball far. From the walk and strikeout ratio, that tells us that you have strike zone discipline if you are walking a lot and striking out very little. Shows us you're seeing pitches. The combination of high extra base hits plus high walks means that you're doing damage on strikes you're taking balls, so you have good strike zone discipline, which will translate to the college game. And then low strikeouts means that you have high contact rate. You're not swinging and missing. You're not chasing bad pitches. Those are things that are important for the high school athlete that will translate well to college. If you're striking out a lot at the high school game, because more than likely when you get to college at a higher level, you're going to be facing better pitchers and guys who can throw more pitches for strikes, and velocity increases because everyone's bigger and stronger and older. And so, that's a big thing I think college coaches look for. Those who don't strike out much, those who walk a lot, and then extra base hits. So going, I guess, to your initial question from the power side, yes, we do. But again, it goes that kind of goes back to the batting average deal. What's the level of competition they're playing? What's the size of the ballpark they're playing? Are they playing at elevation? Are they playing at sea level? There's so many factors to go into just the power side, and then also what position do you play and what is your identity as a baseball player? Are you a corner guy who needs a hit for power? Then yeah, we're going to address those. Are you a leadoff type guy who plays center field and you're more of a defensive guy who steals bags? Then we're maybe not going to stress as much over the power side of it.
Another great answer. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Um, and then kind of bundled together at the end, the last two, or do you look for specific height and weight?
Yeah, so if you watch a game on the TV in the big leagues today and you watch Power Five Division One baseball, the game has just turned into a physical sport. Everybody is just bigger, faster, and stronger than people were playing the sport 10, 15 years ago. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're a smaller guy that you can't play at high level. You just have to do the little things right and you have to do some extra stuff that supplement your game. You know, there's smaller guys that have played in the big leagues, such as Jose Altuve, Dustin Pedroia. You can go down the list. Those guys bring a lot to the table outside of their physicality and their height and their weight and whatnot. But if you look at the SEC, and just the other big Power Five conferences, on average, they have the biggest, most physical 18 to 24-year-olds in the country. And so I think that just shows a sign that from the recruiting side, to compete against the best of the best for the college game, you want to recruit physical players. And I think physicality just gives people more room for error. The bigger and stronger you are, the more bat speed you have, the higher the exit velo. Maybe it's a difference of a ball getting caught on the warning track and it's going out for a home run. The guys who maybe are bigger and are longer and can run a little bit more, maybe it's the difference of them getting to a ball in the gap than somebody who maybe doesn't have as much speed or range. And so the strength and conditioning side, the physicality side of the game is extremely important, and everyone's trying to find the best athlete. But I think this will segue to your next question. We're not just looking for the best athlete. They need to have the mental attributes and the character attributes as well, because the game of baseball rewards those who execute at a high level, those who do the little things right. And so it's not just who's the biggest, fastest, and strongest. That part is important, but there's more to it than just that.
Awesome. Yeah, you're right. That did segue perfectly into the mental question that I have next. Are you with that and with like trying to understand the mental side of the game of the player you're recruiting? Do you look for specific, messaging in the emails from the player, or do you try to get them on the phone? And also, do you try to talk to their current coaches when you're recruiting them?
Yeah, so there's a lot of parts to that question. We try to do our due diligence and our homework and really get to know who we are recruiting before we bring them on campus and have them in our program, because it's extremely important to have the right people. The wrong people can really mess up a locker room, mess up a team culture, and our livelihoods. We're spending a lot of time with these 18 to 22-year-old young men, so it's important for us to find the right people. And so with that, yes, we're going to call their high school coach. We're going to call their club coach. We're going to have phone call conversations with recruited student athletes. We want to talk more so with the recruit itself than their parents. We know parents love their kids to death, and they're just unfortunately they're biased at the end of the day. And so, but On the recruiting visits, the parents and the families are going to be more than involved because it is a family decision in regards to finding a school, and the parent piece is extremely important to us as well. But we want to talk with the student athlete. We want to communicate with them. We want to see how well they communicate with a college coach, and you get to know them really well just through conversation, through their high school coaches, their club coaches. But kind of transitioning more into what we look for just from the mental side and the character side, I think more than ever, college coaches are looking for players who love the game, players who are extremely competitive, those who know how to compete the right way. And what I mean by that, they have a passion for the game and they want to play hard every day and they show up ready to be the very best version of themselves. We're not talking about maybe a win at all costs or a dirty winner. That's not what we mean by a competitor. We want people that, just have a passion for playing. And the reason why that's important is in the college game and in professional, and especially for just the game of baseball, it takes so many hours and so much time to perfect your craft and to play the game, and you're going to deal with so much failure. And so we need players that have a ton of passion for the game because that's going to drive them to put in the extra work. That's going to drive them to respond well when they deal with failure. And so finding just ultimate true competitors, I think, is one of the biggest things. And then that kind of segues into being a great teammate. We want selfless players in today's age, those who know how to pick each other up, those who are going to um, maybe sacrifice their at bat for the benefit of the team, those who are going to who maybe put a little bit more of an emphasis on their team winning the ball game than necessarily their individual performance. Those are all things I think that drive a positive team culture and will make those players around them better. And so when you get selfless individuals who have a high competitive drive and a passion for the game, those guys are the ones that make your locker room great. Those are the ones that are going to help your team win. Those are the ones that are going to help the players around you get better. And those are difference makers in your program. And so those are just some of the character and makeup mental side that college coaches look for. But lastly, what's most important as well on the baseball side of it is your academics and your grades. We need a lot of college programs need players that are good students, and your GPA is a direct reflection of a lot of character traits. Are you
Mhm.
disciplined? Do you do your schoolwork? Do you turn it in on time? Do you communicate with your professors? Do you work hard? Are you due diligent? Do you have attention to detail? All that shows up with your GPA and your grades. And so it tells a big story. It's very common to find someone who has a low GPA and doesn't take school seriously that they're going to slip up when it comes to the baseball side of it and not doing the little things right. And so those it's just all encompassing and all extremely important to us in the recruiting side of it.
Awesome. I love the thoroughness of all your answers. Um, I was thinking about it too, and I mean, obviously, you're a coach at Air Force Academy. That's probably one of the best schools for developing discipline and mental toughness. Um, does that impact the type of player you recruit? Do they need to be more disciplined to start at or to get recruited to Air Force specifically, or would you say it's about the same between your school and other Division One schools?
Um, I I would say probably not the same, and the reason why is we just have higher standards at our school. We're looking for the best of the best high school kids out there. First off, just from an academic standpoint, we are an Ivy League caliber education, so they need to be the top of the top from the academic side just to get into our school. Second, we need high school recruited athletes who understand the purpose and mission of our military and have a ton of respect for our country and have a passion for serving and doing something bigger than themselves. And so when you find those type of kids, essentially we're finding high academic kids. We're finding selfless kids that have high integrity. We're finding kids that come from great families that were raised with great morals, great character, great values. And so before we even touch on the baseball side of it, when you get a kid like that, we're getting great kids who have the discipline, the mental toughness, all that side of it. And then the next piece is evaluating the baseball side. Can they play baseball here? can they help us on the ball field and be competitive for us.
Awesome. And then, is there anything else on the mental or the physical side that you would add that I haven't asked about?
No, I think I've touched on it um, a lot. I encourage high school kids today that, with social media, this will just be my last piece of advice that um, with social media and the world that we live in, that you have more pressure now than ever. And it's very easy to get wrapped up into individual performance, how I look, am I getting recruited? There's a lot of external factors outside of your control that is so easy for people to worry about. And I just encourage you to find enjoyment for the game, find enjoyment with your teammates. When you get internally rooted in those things and just enjoy playing, everything else will fall into place.
Awesome. Um, and actually, I just remembered one more question I had thought of earlier. Uh, I was talking to a coach at one of the Big Ten schools, and he was saying that with the transfer portal in JUCO, they end up looking at high schoolers less than they used to. Is it the hardest right now for a high schooler than it ever has been to get recruited to a high level school?
For a Power Five Division One school, absolutely, because the game is older. That with the transfer portal, junior college kids, 100%. For us personally and the service academies, we aren't really in a position to sign transfers and go into the transfer portal. So we are heavy high school recruiting. I think a lot of the Ivy League schools are probably heavy on the high school side of it. A lot of the Division II junior colleges obviously are heavy high school related. So I think it's harder more than ever to be recruited by a higher level right away out of high school, but there's still, excuse me, still plenty of opportunities to play college baseball today for high school athletes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I guess it's probably pretty hard to transfer into one of your schools, the one of the academies or one of the Ivy League schools and graduate at a reasonable amount of time. So,
For sure.
yeah, I know how how hard school can be, especially when you're playing baseball and that's a full-time job on top of school. So,
Yep.
all right, well, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing for all the students that go to Air Force. I think being a coach and developing the mental side and the discipline of players is one of the most rewarding things that you can do. And so I think that's great for you. And I also appreciate what you're doing for the kids. So that's awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. And, I probably have the best job in the world because we get to coach the kids who serve us at the end of the day. And not many coaches get to say that. So I'm very blessed and I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. And thanks for being willing to chat with me about this. This should help a lot of people. So appreciate it.
Good. Appreciate it, Will. Thank you.